So I like being an independent contractor. That's the point. If you're not giving me a guarantee that you're going to make me a living, then I'm going to be free to book whoever, wherever I want. Whoever wants to pay me can hire me. So I didn't like the system where I was under the thumb of somebody who wasn't offering me a guaranteed living. So I went off independently and it's worked out fine.
But why did it? Why that's a bit mad. Like, why should they get a percentage out of you doing a gig for someone else? That's got nothing to do with them.
Well, I agree with you, but that was their deal and I didn't take it. There's still people who think it's worth it because they have a bunch of clubs. They think it's worth working under that situation. I don't.
Whoa. And what about Absolute? Do they do any stringence, or is it just they
No.
just? Oh, okay.
They only have 2 clubs. It's not a massive business or anything,
Okay.
but they're good to me and they're located a couple of blocks from my house. So it's very convenient for me to drop in and do sets there.
That's very good. What's the what's the vibe like in Absolute? Do they do like a 2-drink minimum like they do in America, and they have servers come in and it's like,
No, they have a box office, a ticket fee, and then they have service, food and drinks. They come around, but there's no minimum. People order what they want.
okay. I noticed with the American comedy scene, they often don't have a host, in that they just have a lineup, the show goes on, and they have people serving in between the acts. So in the big clubs, they do a 2-drink minimum or 2 food minimum. I know in the Comedy Cellar, what I thought was a bit mad was that you could book it online, but you'd pay as you leave. But in London, they have a show, they have a host, make sure all the acts do well, warm the crowd up. You pay your ticket before you
Clubs
go
here
in.
generally have a host, but occasionally they do what we call shotgun, which means you introduce the next act.
Okay.
But that's more the small independent clubs where they don't have a headliner. So they're just put on 10, 12 acts for 7 minutes each. And they don't want to slow it down with a host. So they just keep it going with the shotgun.
So is the Canada system more similar to the UK model in terms of shows, from what I've said there?
Well, I've been to a lot of American clubs where they also have a host and work much like us with 3 acts and a headliner or whatever. But I guess that's the UK model as well.
It was just my experience. I was there, I think, a while ago for a few months in Chicago, New York, and LA, and that seemed to be the structure they had.
Yeah, I mean, it varies. Like I say, some clubs they do that. Some clubs have a host. It does depend on where you are. I mean, the big cities often, I guess, would have 1 act after another because there's so many people to go on. But the road gigs, usually it's a host and a couple of openers and a headliner doing the bulk of the time or half the show. Often the way it works here is the host and a few opening acts do 45 minutes and then the headliner does 45 minutes at the end. So you get a 90-minute show.
And it's you must have performed in a lot of mad rooms. I know that I spoke to Stuart Huff and he spoke about moments where he was performing in a KK town and the people in the audience were really, they were just there because of circumstances. But he said that he's been in situations in LA where they're supposed to be multicultural, but they've proven that they're not. And he's mentioned stories of where he's performing in pubs with the TV on with 2 or 3 audiences and their dog.
Oh yeah. Well, there are many situations where they book a comedian and they don't understand what's involved. You can book a band and they can play in the background while people talk or do whatever they want, and it's still music. But comedy's only comedy if people are paying attention. It requires an audience element, or it's just a guy talking and there's nothing to it. So a lot of places don't understand. They'll book a comedian and keep the hockey game on. That's Canadian, very. And people are watching the game instead of you, or barely paying attention. And as a rule, I'm at the point in my career where I will explain to people what I need when they book me if I haven't worked for them before. I'll say I need, attention, I need lights, I need sound, I need, other media turned off, that kind of thing. And if they say, oh no, we're going to keep the game on, then I don't take the job. I mean, that's easy enough.
But
I have had the experience in the past of insanity going on. I've been in places where you're in a small room and the next room over is having an enormous dance party and the music is just thumping through the wall while you're trying to do a show. It can be ridiculous, of course.
is there signs that in an email or in a chat with the promoter or booker that you detect that this is going to be a shit show that you should run a mile away from?
I'm trying to think. It's very hard to tell because promoters promote. Everybody pretends like their place is fantastic and their offer is great. I try to get to the basics of how much time and how much money and how far away are you very quickly, because people will try to sell you first. Are you available on this day is the first question, and I'll say I think so, yes. What's going on? And then they'll say, because we got a great show, blah blah blah. And I say, okay, well, how much time and how much money? And they'll say, because this crowd comes out, they really love to laugh. How much time and how much money? And if they delay too many questions to that, I know that when they finally say it'll be 2 hours for $30, and I'll say, yeah, that's not going to happen, but thank you for contacting me.
What is? Can I get a demonstration of your polite disengagement from certain offers?
Oh, that's basically it. Thank you so much for thinking of me, but that's not close to my rate. I'm polite about it, but I'm a businessman ultimately when it comes to the phone call I'm an artist at heart, but if I'm going to go do this, it's work.
When doing gigs, do you shove a lot of new bits in between the set even at like corporate shows or big paid shows, or do you still go to the open mics to test stuff out, or do you?
Oh, I go to open mics all the time. In fact, I'm going to go to one tonight. You have to sharpen your sword between battles. It's important to stay sharp. I never don't go on in the course of a week. I have to be on my game, and you rust very quickly if you don't keep it up.
I've spoken to a couple comics on a podcast, and they say that they don't change too much of their set, but they've been doing the same set for around 30 years.
Oh, okay. No, I'm always writing. I'm always coming up with stuff. I don't sit and write. It comes to me all the time. I liken it, though, to the cells in your body, which apparently are completely switched every 7 years. But it's not like you fall into a pile of dust and then come back up as a new you. It's a gradual sloughing process. This is how the act develops. Older bits that no longer apply or are relevant to me or to the world disappear, and new thoughts come and are added. So it's always changing. Every time I go to Ottawa to headline once a year, for instance. And every time they always say, oh my God, so much new stuff. I'm barely aware that it's happening.
if you didn't, do you think it would they be able to detect that you was would what would, what would be your performance if you didn't do that?
If I didn't do what?
If you didn't keep your irons sharp and keep changing it?
I imagine I'd be doing the same bits I used to do, and I wouldn't be very good. And they'd they'd start to feel old because society keeps changing. Comedy's very much a thing of its time and place. The jokes I was doing in the 80s wouldn't fly today. They just wouldn't be funny anymore because things change. I mean, some would, but a lot would be, why are you talking about that? I mean, you know, I mean, my Clinton jokes aren't going to be funny now because why are you bringing up Clinton?
Who is Clinton?
He was the president of the United States for many years.
Oh, okay. Oh, Bill Clinton. I thought you meant something else. Right. Yeah. He was an interesting character, but Hillary Clinton. I mean, I'm not surprised she got beat by Donald Trump, considering who she is. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she would have been a good president, but she was a terrible candidate.
Yeah. Dreadful. But
Yeah.
it was funny watching the debates with her and him, and when she was saying, "Oh, I'm glad you're not president," and then he came out with that big line and says, "Because you'll be in jail."
Yeah, no, I mean, she was, anyway, it's a sad situation, our neighbors to the south.
Not boring though. It's lively.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're listening to those neighbors fight through the window all the time.
Is the situation in Canada quite frosty as well politically? Because I know Justin Trudeau was well liked by a lot of people, and he's no longer the president, is he?
Prime Minister.
Or prime minister?
We have the same system as you. Although we call it the House and the Senate, not the House of Lords and House. Oh no, we call it the House of Commons and the Senate, not the House of Lords. But other than that, it's the same as you guys. We even have the Governor General, who is the representative of the monarchy.
Okay.
So, yeah. But anyway, no, Canada is a much more, the pendulum swings, but like this. In America, the pendulum swings like this. It's a much more intense society. We are a polite, we're in this together and we'll need each other's help to push our cars out of the snow society.
So there won't be like takedown debates like you see on Charlie Kirk with students, or you're seeing all these.
No, we don't play that. It doesn't go here. Anybody who behaves that way is going to be very quickly rejected as being not a serious person to be in charge.
Why is Canada as a whole more laid back than America?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons. One, we never had a rebellion to break away in the same way. We negotiated our separation from England to be an independent nation. We didn't have a war. Number two, we're a very small population in a very big space. We have lots of room and survival is key here. It's very cold. It's deadly most of the year. We have to live together and work together to survive. It's very important. We also don't have guns available to every person for no reason. That makes for a much more easygoing world. We can actually be more rude in a situation because we're not afraid somebody's going to shoot us. But we are, in fact, very polite as a group.
So, I thought that guns were available in Canada. I thought you could get.
Well, they exist. People have them for hunting. They have long guns and things like that, but we don't have handguns. And you're not allowed to. We have gun control. You're not allowed to just have a gun without a license. And
Hmm.
People in the country have guns. All
Yeah,
the guns in the city, all the crime that's done with guns are guns that were smuggled in from the United States and are held by criminals or
but
the police.
there's not a in London. They've got a knife epidemic.
Oh, yes. No, I've heard about that. Uh, Again, it's not that we don't have no violence here. I mean, Toronto's a big city, and there are homeless people and crazy people and whatever. But it's for the size of population, it's a very peaceful city. There's very little violent crime considering the size of it.
Okay.
Again, who knows? The economy may fall into worse and worse disrepair, and as people get desperate, crime increases. But so far, it hasn't been that way.
I have found that as a whole, Canadians tend to be more politer than Americans.
Oh, yeah, but who's not more polite than Americans?
Russians.
Okay, you're right. That's about it, though. I'm saying, Canadians tend to be polite. It's true. But again, we have a society that's pretty peaceful. We get along. It's very multicultural. It's very accepting and opening and welcoming. And again, we have to huddle for warmth. It's important.
What about familiarity breeds contempt?
Yeah, but contempt isn't violence. I mean, it's like family members. You can feel like, oh God, the phone rings and you see who it is and you're like, oh, damn it, but you still answer.
But it's the necessity of it's the necessity of dealing with each other that makes people more polite in Canada.
I think so. And I think we're also aware. I mean, bear in mind, we're sort of right between England and America societally. We have a very noisy, very aggressive neighbor right there on our doorstep. And we've learned to be the calm voice of reason in the world.
And do you guys get weed as well?
Get what?
Weed.
I can't tell if you're saying weird or weed.
Weed.
What? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We legalized it before most people.
Huh.
Canada legalized weed long before America, any part of America did, and much of Europe. Oh, yeah. No, there's pot shops on every corner here.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. There's 3 or 4 on my block.
And do they sell the chocolate brownie type stuff as well?
Edibles? I don't know if it's chocolate, but the gummies and things like that. It's all very professional, packaged and all that stuff. You can order specific strains and flavors. You can get the vapor, or you can get the bud, or you can get pre-rolled, or you can get edible. It's all just everything, whatever people need is widely available.
With these pot shops, is it filled with, I mean, is it a good, a lot of people say that they should legalize drugs and it would sort out a lot of the problems.
I
From
agree.
going into a lot of the weed shops, would you say that they are a demonstration of that, or?
I guess. I mean, I don't think of weed in the same category as the hard drugs. I think hard drugs are going to create a lot of, real major problems for people who use them. Weed is recreational. I mean, it can, I suppose, hurt people. I mean, much like alcohol can, but it can also be handled by most people. But I do think that it's more of the harder drugs, in my opinion, it's more of a medical, social issue than a criminal issue. I think the people who need that kind of thing have other issues that lead them to that sort of thing.
And you fear you said a statement on you think that they should make drugs legal.
Well, I think they should be decriminalized, and people should be encouraged to seek help to get off of things that they can't quit easily. I mean, we're talking about heroin and meth and those kinds of things that really ruin your life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't consider that recreational anymore at that point.
No. And one thing that I find interesting about Canada is a lot of people are fluent in French. Is there what's the deal with like Montreal and Toronto? Is it like a prerequisite for a lot of people to be fluent in French in Canada? Or what's the relationship there?
Well,
I know that in the tennis.
In Toronto, most people are not. We all take French in school up to, I can't remember, grade 11 or 12, something like that. So everybody has a little bit of French for sure. And all our products have both languages on every package. All the packaging is English and French across the country. But there are Northern Ontario, Quebec, parts of the West, and parts of the East are French communities. But and Montreal is fairly bilingual. Most people have at least some French. If you want a government job, you need French here. If you want to work for the railroad, you have to have French and English. But it's not universal. It's an official language, but it doesn't mean everybody speaks it.
Fair enough. Is there a rivalry between like Montreal and Toronto? Because I know in Glasgow and Edinburgh, there's a bit of beef. Like Glaswegians say that you have more fun at a Glasgow funeral than at an Edinburgh wedding. Is there?
Well, Montreal is a very exciting, fun city. It's got a lot going for it. And they would certainly say that they have all the heart, and Toronto's a stuck up, dull city. But Toronto is the biggest city with all the culture and everything to do. So I think it's fantastic. And in fact, I do a joke in my act about the Canadian identity, that they're always trying to figure it out. Valid, because what does a guy in Vancouver have in common with a guy in Newfoundland? They're thousands and thousands of miles apart. And I say, well, the one thing that brings all Canadians together is everybody hates Toronto. I say that's the Canadian identity. And I try to be an ambassador on the road. I say to people, I don't know why you hate Toronto. We don't think about you at all. And that's kind of where it's at. I mean, Toronto is New York. They're not really concerned about how Nebraska feels about them.
Does that joke get a bit of banter from the crowd when you're traveling?
No, they laugh because I have a lot of jokes that work like that. It sounds arrogant, but it's clearly a self-own. I'm clearly being a snobby person as a parody of a person who thinks highly of themselves. Nobody hears that joke and thinks, I think Toronto's better. They hear that joke and they go, okay, this guy's self-aware and knows that Toronto is full of people who think they're the center of the universe. That's the essence of a joke. It's like my opening line I do is I say, it's nice to see you. Thank you for coming out. This will be fun. You're a nice group. And I'm excellent. And they laugh because even though it sounds arrogant, it's obviously a parody of somebody who thinks that.
Is there an element where you have to adjust your set to different parts of Canada? That's a big thing in London, in the UK. How do you adjust yourself for different parts of Canada?
I don't even think of it as different parts of Canada. Night to night, audience to audience, I adjust my set based on the feedback I'm getting. I have tremendous antenna. I can feel what's going on out there. And I can go in a million different directions wherever I need to go to get my laughs. But my act is fairly, I don't know how to put it. It's about people and how people feel and react about things, and people are people pretty much wherever you go. I don't have a particularly political act or a particularly offensive act or a particularly edgy act. It tends to appeal to most people.
What's your darkest joke? No, I won't ask that.
I mean, I have a couple of jokes that can make trouble, it depending on who hears them. I mean, one of my favorite jokes is about I talk about I talk a bit about being Jewish in my act, and I say, there's been so many famous Jews in history, like um, this is what happens when you get old. You start to lose things in your brain, but everybody knows famous Jewish guy, Jesus. So famous, so popular, probably the most successful Jew ever. Not then, but later did extremely well. And I think about what he was like as a person, Jesus. And I'll tell you, Jews are sarcastic. We invented sarcasm. Like if somebody says to you, hey, Einstein, but what they really mean is you're being an idiot. That's a very Jewish way to talk. So was Jesus sarcastic? We don't know. I mean, he was Jewish, so I think for sure. And we don't know because we've never heard Jesus. We've only read the words. Like maybe what he really said was, yeah, the meek shall inherit the earth. I'm just saying delivery makes a difference. So that's a joke that, depending on the crowd, they might go, hey, we don't like that.
Canada's in UK, it gets a lot of plaudits for bringing a lot of killers into the UK circuit. There's a lot of great comics come from Canada.
I know all of them. You're talking about Stuart Francis and Michelle Shaughnessy and Mike Wilmot. I'm trying to think who else went there. Dana Alexander's over there. Who else?
Dave Tusonis.
Oh yeah, Dave Tusonis. Yeah.
John Hastings. Dylan Gott went there as well.
Yeah, no, I know all those people. Well, you know why they're killers? Because they're good here. And we have an incredibly good scene in Canada. I mean, we sort of combine the humor of England and America in our sensibility. The other thing is, if you think about comedy just as a form, right? It's a laugh, a humorous point of view is based on distance or time, correct? Everybody says that. Time or distance. You get a little perspective on something and it gives you a humorous look at it. Well, Canadians are outsiders in England and in America, but close enough that we understand what we're looking at. So we have a unique ability to bring comedy. I mean, it's true in America too, in the United States as well. Canadians go down there and do extremely well. Many of the biggest comedy stars came from here. I think we're uniquely positioned as a society to be comedians.
How would you describe the Canadian humor? If you describe the style of it, I know everyone's different.
I think it's got a surface, gentle friendliness with a very subversive sublayer. I think it's that it's not that in your face Don Rickles American style of hey, it's more like very interesting, but meanwhile I'm cutting you to ribbons underneath. But not as understated as the British, sort of very, it's not Jimmy Carr being very posh. We're more like an everyday guy, a friendly guy, but there's something sinister going on underneath, would be what I would describe it as. I mean, do you know Michelle Shaughnessy?
Michelle Shaughnessy.
Canadian woman who went over to England.
I know of the name, and I
Very,
hear a lot about her, and I know she's
very
good.
funny. Yeah, she's really good. And again, she's got this sort of sweet, beautiful girl kind of surface, but there's clearly something very edgy and weird underneath going on.
With all the comics that you've seen come from Canada into America and in London,
Yeah.
have you seen any changes? And do you feel that they've changed since they've left Canada in their style?
No, not in their style. I mean, obviously their material will be altered. I've noticed, for instance, watching some of my friends, once they move to England, they start using different words because you guys have a different vocabulary for things over there. I mean, we would never use the word lorry for truck over here. So I'll hear a bit over there and they'll suddenly talk about a lorry and I'll go, okay, they're adjusting to help the crowd understand. I mean, I did a few sets when I was in London. I had a very good time on stage there. And actually, one of the funny things that happened was I mentioned a truck in one of my bits. And the person said, "You mean a lorry?" And I said, "Yeah, but you knew what I meant. So why interrupt?" I said, "Look, every word in this and I did a bit about pantyhose, which I haven't done in years, but back then I did it. And they said, and do you know what pantyhose are?"
Undergarments, right?
Right. It was like a nylon thing with the part that goes around the woman's, crotch and butt and the legs all the way to the toes. Anyway, so I mentioned pantyhose and somebody goes, "You mean tights?" And I said, "No, tights are what Superman wears." And they said, "No, those are leggings." I said, "No, leggings are those wool things that go just around the calves." Right? I said, "You know what? You people don't know English. I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous." I said, "I went to Covent Garden. There isn't a single flower. I went to Piccadilly Circus. No clowns. The London Eye, it's clearly an O. You people don't know anything." And they like that. They like taking the piss, as they say over there in England. They appreciate that.
What's the equivalent slang in Canada for taking the piss?
What would we say? Taking the piss. I'm trying to think how you would put it. Making fun of somebody, if there's a slang for it. I can't think of it right now, and I'm sure there is a term, but I don't know. you know, mocking,
Well,
but that's not slang. It's just what it is. Messing with, maybe. Fucking with.
yeah. So if I was a geezer type comic, I said, "My name's Dave. I'm a builder. I'm a comedian. I'm coming over to Canada. What sort of jokes do I need to make fun of? What sort of reference points would endear me to Canadians?" And
Okay. Well, the thing is, the whole world lives in Canada. Our comedy scene is all people from around the world making fun of themselves, their culture, and their place in Canada. It's a lot of that now. I mean, we really have the whole world here. We have a lot of Muslim comics talking about being Muslims, and there isn't so I would say to Builder Dave, talk about your life and what it's like being you over there and what it's like seeing Canada for the first time. That's what people will appreciate here. You're not going to fool people. When I went to England, I didn't pretend I knew what I was talking about England. I did my act about what I know. I think people can sense inauthenticity very quickly.
especially in stand-up.
Oh, yeah. Because it's like singer-songwriter. It's not just a performance. It's supposed to reflect you.
And I think comedians are quite good at detecting BS as well.
Oh yeah, well that's kind of the job. I mean, that's the point, is to look at things and go, uh-huh. Here's what he's really saying. It's almost translating into truth from lies.
What is your take on comics that are a bit absurd, or do like when you're in London? I'm pretty sure you saw comedians that did music or character acts or even zany clown things
Mhm.
where they don't do any of the what you said there in terms of analyzing and talking about bullshit. They just do wacky, weird, stupid shit to make people laugh.
I don't think of that exactly as stand-up. I think it's a variety act at a certain point.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, and they work a lot on the stand-up stages, but it's a different act. If you're doing clowning or physical comedy or juggling or props or whatever, then to me, or music, it's a different act. It's stand-up is talking. It's talking and saying things that are funny. Uh, there used to be a lot of character comics. I mean, that used to be the standard back in the 50s and stuff. Almost everybody played a character. Have you heard of Albert Brooks?
No, I have not. Sorry.
He's one of the great American comics, but his father was a comic before him, and he played a Greek character called Parkykarkis. And at the same time, this is back in the 50s, there was a guy called Bill Dana who played Jose Jimenez, a Mexican comic. And so people used to do that. That used to be the way comics worked. They were a sort of over the top caricature sort of persona. But by the 60s, that was fading already. And people were more just talking as people.
Hmm. It is what I said there in terms of clowning and music. Is that still comedy though to you?
Oh, it's still comedy. It's just not stand up. If it makes people laugh, it's comedy. But I mean, there's lots of comedy that isn't stand up comedy. There's sketch and movies and TV sitcoms. And I mean, there's lots of stuff that's comedy that isn't stand up.
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin was not a stand up, but he was a brilliant comedian.
Is there still some of that in the Canada scene in terms of alternative comics, or is there not much of that
Well,
anymore?
no, there's all kinds of things. I mean, French Canada does. There's tons of that clown type stuff in the French.
Oh,
It's very popular there. Much less so in English Canada. English Canada tends to be more straight stand up, but there's people who do music in their act, and there's people who do some physical stuff.
hmm. I've one thing that I've talked about with Montreal. Can you speak French?
Un petit peu.
I do find it impressive with comics because I know there's Sugar Sammy, and he's amazing where he's doing like comedy. He does crowd work clips in both languages, and that's interesting. That's
Yeah,
bloody amazing.
people who live in Montreal tend to be able to do both. Mike Patterson, Rochelle Ellie. There's a number of them who can do both in Montreal, in Quebec, but nobody in Toronto works that way.
Is there a lot of intermingling between Toronto and Montreal, or is it a bit more? Because what's happened in the UK with the pay being so low, comedians have become a bit more based in a region. They're not traveling as much as they used to because of the
Well,
cost of
us
living.
too, because the pay is lower and the travel is more expensive. So it's very similar here. But that said, I do play Montreal occasionally, and they come here occasionally. And, it's still not, I mean, I'm a guy who knows everybody at this point. I mean, I meet new people all the time, but anybody who's at all established, I know and knows me at this stage. So I know people all over the country, and we're friendly, and social media keeps you in touch with friends. Um, I see Joey Elias from Montreal occasionally, and it's always nice to catch up, but we don't see a lot of each other.
Is the journey ridiculous? Something like what, 4 or 5 hours to get there by car and by train?
We don't consider 5 hours ridiculous in Canada.
Oh, really?
No, I mean, we're talking, that's still train or car. Most places you have to fly.
Oh, okay.
Canada's enormous. Canada's second to Russia in size. Yeah, you can't really understand until you're here how far it is from to get anywhere.
Would you be able to double up from Montreal and do it in Toronto if you took a flight?
Well, I live in Toronto.
No, but if doing a gig in Toronto and Montreal in the same evening, a couple of hours apart.
Well, I mean, I guess technically it would be possible. It wouldn't really be possible because you've got to be at the airport, an hour at least before the flight. If I had a private plane waiting to take me, sure, but it's not realistic. No, you wouldn't do that. It would be 5-6 hours at least between. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. It's far. I mean, what is a 6-hour drive from London?
To Liverpool or Manchester.
Or you wouldn't do Liverpool and London in the same night.
Oh, not by car, but I think there is more because of the cost now. But I think there are, on the weekend, there are some comics that might, and this is at a big stretch, do a gig in Liverpool and then come down to London and do a set. But that's very rare. No, most people don't do that.
I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm saying it's not likely to happen.
It's very inconvenient.
Yeah. I mean, I'll see you tomorrow would be more likely the response.
Yeah.
And Montreal, as I say, is considered fairly close. I mean, compared to Winnipeg or Calgary or Edmonton or Vancouver or St. John or St. John's or Halifax or Fredericton or Charlottetown. I mean, Canada's very big. Most places you fly.
But in these out of town areas, do they pay a lot and have good audiences? I remember a really stupid incident in Italy where I was doing a theatre show and it was a very small town with not much going on. And they didn't really need to advertise it to get it packed with 200 people.
Well, that's the thing. That's the irony, is in Toronto, there's so much to do and so many options that sometimes you'll go out to a club and they've tried to promote it and 10 people show up. You go out to Bayfield, which is a town of 1,200 people on the shore of Lake Huron, and 900 people come because there's nothing else going on.
It's so mad, isn't it? It's mad.
Well, but it's also logical in its own way.
But it's funny in the ridiculousness of it. It's funny.
It is funny. I agree with you. It's crazy. And that's why you can never guess. And some of my favorite gigs were Sudbury, which is freezing cold northern Ontario. It looks like the surface of the moon. It's a mining town. And you think, oh my God, I'm going to be in hell. Sudbury in February. And you go up there and they're so happy to see you and buying you drinks and everybody's there and it's the greatest show you've ever had. Judge in advance. You don't know.
That's something I do a lot at gigs or sometimes whenever with comedians. And I think I've done like stand up and I've done a bit of clowning. But one of the most difficult things I need to work on is clearing your head and just focus on what's there. Stop with all these things beforehand, because otherwise you're not listening to the audience.
Oh yeah, well, I would totally agree with that. It's my general attitude about life, to be honest, is I don't worry about things that haven't happened. It's not how I live. And in fact, there's an old joke about life is everybody dies. So life is falling out of a tall building. And you can fall screaming, or you can fall saying, so far, so good.
Yeah.
I prefer the so far, so good attitude.
What about Puss in Boots, where he was, have you seen the last film, The Last Wish, where the bounty hunter whose death tries to kill him, and he has a big fight and he survives for a few more years?
Okay. I haven't seen it. But what's the point?
No, what about fighting to survive a few more years? What about defeating death?
Oh, I wouldn't know. I'm the luckiest person in the world. You know, they say God only gives you as much as you can handle. Well, I must be incredibly weak because God has given me nothing but easy things. What I want my entire life. I had a child, a daughter, completely by mistake, and she turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. I live in comfort. I've never missed a meal. I am fairly well respected in my field. I can't think of anything lacking in my life. So I don't have to fight to live. I am given it on a silver platter so far, and I'll take it. I know life is a crapshoot. People say you have such a good attitude. I say, no, I'm extremely lucky and everything goes my way. If things went badly, I bet I'd have a terrible attitude, but they don't. So I'll take it.
Oh. That's the thing that I had in one of the other podcasts, is that when comedians start out as parents and they do comedy and then they got a job as well, bloody hell. How is that when you had like a kid and you were a comedian at the same time? That changed
No problem,
the game?
but I didn't have a job. So in fact, my daughter and I have been hanging out since she was born most days, all day. We're a team. I mean, she's about to leave home actually for the first time.
Oh.
And, you know, it's going to be interesting to have the empty nest after all these years with her. But no, it's been great. I'm not one of these 10 minutes at breakfast, 20 minutes at dinner fathers. I'm a full-time hanging out with my girl. We were soulmates through the entire COVID lockdown. No problem. She's good company and funny. Actually, I'll tell you a story of her being funny. She came to see my show with a friend of hers, a couple of friends of hers, a few weeks ago when I was headlining the club. She and couple of friends came down to see me. And I have a thing where I don't like to see people I know from the stage. And, you know, you can only see the front little bit because of the lights. So she comes in and she's at the little stand where the doormen are going to seat them. And I go up and I go, I don't want to see her from the stage. And then she says to the doorman, he never wants to see me, even at home. He makes me wear a bag on my head and he won't even let me cut out eye holes. It was so she just ad-libbed that. I was howling. We have a good time. She's funny.
What did the security guard say or do when she said that?
Oh, they laughed. I mean, they work in a comedy club. They know what's funny.
Brilliant. So did she do that as you were just performing on stage, or did she do it
when
before?
Came in to be seated.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're still at the door, you know, where they have the little map of tables and decide where people are going to be.
Okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to be sure she wouldn't be seated somewhere where I could see her from the stage.
Would you ever do a double act with her, or would you introduce her to
You know what?
stand-up?
I've thought of that. But honestly, I don't wish it on anybody. If she wants to try it, I say, go try it. By all means, try stand-up. You know, there's a million open mics. You can try it. And she's mentioned it. And I've said, then you should. But she's never actually done it because she's like me, lazy.
Nah. What advice would you give to her to prepare her for the stand-up world if she were to do it?
The same advice I give anybody. Do what you think is funny and don't worry about it. The stakes are zero. We're not airline mechanics. What's the worst possible outcome? They have a bad time for 5 minutes. So what?
And most of the time you don't have to see them again.
Right. My point is, it doesn't mean anything. It's it's the least important job I can imagine. That's why I like it. There's no pressure. There's no stakes. What harm can I do?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you can do is just have an audience not find you funny and be a bit uncomfortable, but they'll have a story to talk about. But
yeah, they'll get over it. I mean, as I say, I'm not a heart surgeon where it's like, oops, and somebody dies. It's like, oops, oh, well, that didn't go so well. Too bad for them, too bad for me. And that rarely happens anymore, of course, because, you know, I've been doing this for 47 years. But I'm saying, I think people put too much pressure. You know, people always say, oh my God, that must be so scary. It must be so hard. You know, this is what civilians always say about stand-up. And it's like, well, only if you're thinking of it that way, only if it makes you feel anxious, but there's no actual danger. It's like a horror movie. They can't come off the screen and hurt you.
No. But this is going to be a topic that you've heard. The one thing I'm going to say now is the thing you've heard a million times before. And it's something that's been going on maybe the last 10 years. And this is a problem that's probably going on in every comedy scene. There's a big divide with a lot of comics in terms of you can't say this, you can't say that. And there's comedians on the other side saying, no, you should be penalized for saying certain things.
The super woke and the edgelords.
Yes. That is the most tiring thing that you hear in every single situation.
I'm neither. And as far as I'm concerned, my thing about comedy is, does the audience enjoy it? Then good. And your job as a comedian, if you want to be a professional comedian, is to say things the audience likes and enjoys. And do you know Jeselnik? Anthony Jeselnik?
Yeah, brilliant. Very dark humor, but very clever and brilliant jokes.
Yes. He said a great quote, I thought, because I expected his response to a question like that to be, oh yeah, no, nothing's off limits and blah, 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 right? Because of the way his act is. But what he said was brilliant. He said, and again, this is not me, this is Jeselnik. He said, Andy Warhol said, art is getting away with it. Now, if you're doing dark or offensive material and the audience laughs, you're getting away with it. But if you're doing dark, offensive material and all you're doing is upsetting people, then you're not getting away with it. And that's not art. So that's what I think. I don't think one way or the other. I don't think there's a problem with dark, offensive. I don't think any topic is off the table. I don't think any joke is off the table as long as it's funny and done properly and people laugh. And I also don't think any sort of safe space jokes are bad necessarily. But on the other hand, if the only reason they're clapping, clapter, where instead of finding it funny, they just say, I agree with that point of view. That's not a comedy act to me either. So I have no patience for anybody who's not funny. no matter what their point of view is on comedy. I don't care about your point of view on comedy. Make me laugh. Frankly, I find these interviews a little pointless just because this isn't what I do. I make people laugh with my terrific comedy act. I don't sit and talk about comedy except on these podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when comics sit around, we talk about each other's acts and give each other tags and, help. Or complain about how shitty the business is.
Yes. That is, yes. Yes.
I mean, you never sit with a comic in actual life and do this. So what do you think is the focus of your material? Do you think that we don't do that in real life. This is podcast talk.
The funny thing that I find about the complaint about the business is most comics don't want to do anything about it.
Do anything about it.
Well, there's all sorts of comedians complain about pay, or they complain about this going on or that going on. I'm interviewing someone in the next few weeks who is trying to do something about it, but most comics will sit and complain about different things and do shit.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, look, the problem is we're independent contractors and there's more wannabes than people who can actually do it. And club owners are happy to hire wannabes and disappoint the audience if it means not paying good comics properly, just to starve us out. That's, we have no bargaining position as comedians. There's always going to be somebody who will do it for less. My attitude has always been, I charge what I charge for what I do, and people who hire me are happy they paid it. And I have turned down lots of work. In fact, I turned down a gig 2 days ago because I just said, I'm not going to do it for that in that situation. But thanks for thinking of me. And, this is normally what I would charge you for that. So if you want me, let me know. They've seen me. They know I'm good. They can hire whoever they want to hire for what they're offering. And when that person does what they do, they'll come back to me and go, you know what? That was a mistake. I'm okay with that. But it's a very individual thing. It's very hard to do something about it because there's always going to be somebody who'll go, I'll take that terrible gig for that terrible money. Always.
You mentioned something that was an interesting point, and this may be controversial as well, and you've probably heard a lot. I really want to watch Cat Williams' podcast interviews because he did 2 that were very interesting. I've only seen snippets of it, but I know that he did one with Joe Rogan, and there was a small little chat that he had with Joe Rogan where he said, proper comics, there's probably 100 or 200 in the world. And you mentioned the comics about, there's a lot of wannabe comics. If you were to look at that same kind of question, if you're looking across the globe, including Canada, America, how many people would you say are proper comics, and what percentage would you say are wannabe comics?
I would say there's a lot more than 200 real comics in the world. I mean, there's a lot of good comics and good who maybe aren't famous or rich, but it's art. I mean, there's a lot of great artists. It doesn't mean only Picasso and Rembrandt are real artists just because they're the ones everybody knows about. But as a percentage, I would say, 5% maybe of comics are real comics and 95% are wannabes. I mean, there's a lot of very derivative acts out there who aren't really writing jokes that nobody else could think of.
What apart from that, what you said there, which is a very good point, what would you say are the key things? This may sound even stupid as well, this question, but I'll say it anyway. What would you say the key things for you when you're looking at a comic define whether they're wannabe comic or proper comic?
Well, okay, let's eliminate all the people who don't get any laughs. So that's 90%. Okay. And I'm saying that this is just how it is. I mean, they're amateurs. Most of the comics are people who are new, right? who haven't really done many gigs. There's always a huge influx of people who, there's about a 2-year drop-off period at the beginning where a lot of people try it for a couple of years and then disappear. So that's the first wave, and that's going to be the bulk of people. So let's not even count them. But if you want, but if they'll call themselves comics, so I'll say they're in that cluster, right? But then if you're talking about people who actually work and get laughs, if I watch somebody and I know what the punchline is, obviously, then they're not much of a comic. If it's obvious, if it's, and those are the women, or, you know what I'm saying? People who do the joke, the obvious joke about, I saw her and I had to have her, so I jumped on her and was having sex. And boy, the people in the department store were upset. I know what's coming. I know before they get there where the joke is. That to me is not interesting or unusual or anything. So I'm not, a joke has to be like a judo throw. You have to be thrown off balance by it. If you're not, it's not original. It's not a unique thought.
Yeah. So you'd say originality is a big thing, and being distinguishable.
Well, not just originality, but yes, originality, but also an ability to think of something that the audience can't see coming, and even other comics probably wouldn't see coming automatically. That's the point. It's a skill. Think of it like judo. I always say it's like judo. You've got to be able to go against the momentum of the crowd, of the listener, so that they're surprised. If they know what's coming, you're not writing a joke. You're just talking. That's how I feel. And there's just too much of that. There's way too many people who go up there and are essentially just doing the same jokes other people have done 1,000 times. It's not unique. It's not interesting. It's what it is. Or the therapy comics. People who go up there. I mean, it's like they're talking to their psychiatrist about all the things that are wrong with them and wrong with their life. And you're going, well, where's the joke here? I mean, how is this funny at all? Make me laugh once.
Yeah. It's
just that you're standing with a mic alone doesn't make you a comic. It's a response you get is what makes it comedy.
You mentioned an interesting point in terms of derivative laughs, and I think the answer to that is people watch who they see on TV and they see the rewards of comedy, and so they give it a go and they're like, right, I'll be like this act and I'll achieve the same thing, rather than doing it because they enjoy making people laugh and they want to do their own thing.
Well, when new people ask me for advice, I am happy to share. But if they ask me about the business as opposed to the craft, I have no interest in them. If their first question is, so how long would I have to work to start getting paid? I'll go, you won't be here long enough to start getting paid. Never mind. You ask me about, what makes this a good joke, or what do you think of this bit? I'm there. You ask me about the business. How do I get booked on blah, blah, blah? I'm like, be funny. That's how you get booked on blah, blah, blah. How do you think?
So there's a great comic that I had on this podcast who said a very smart thing about stand-up comedy. So he plays a character called President Abunjo. He's called Benjamin Bello. And he said 3 different things which I think are very important for anyone that does comedy. He says, in the industry, you're going to have people that are going to get ahead of you. And you're going to be like, why did they get that? Why did they get that? You're going to have people that aren't going to book you. You're going to have a lot of setbacks. You're going to have people that don't like you. And he says, you got to have this, if you want to be in this game, you got to have the stand-up comedy mindset. From your side, what would you say are the questions and things that a comic should ask themselves or think about if they truly want to be a comedian?
I think that, well, especially because in Canada, there's no real show business. We're right on the doorstep of the United States. We are in the shadow of the greatest entertainment juggernaut there is. So we are all second class up here. It's just the nature of this country, the size of the population, the lengths you have to travel to get anywhere, and the fact that the border is closed to us. I mean, we're not allowed to just go down there and do sets. You have to go through a whole immigration process to be able to work in the United States. So there's this huge market that we have no access to. So we're trapped in a very small place. So there's no real show business in Canada. So the only reason to do it, as far as I'm concerned, is because you really love it, and this is all you want to do with your time. And if you want to do it, you'll get a day job if you need to support yourself and continue to do it. And you'll stick with it even when you're not making a living at it. And you'll do it because this is what you want to do. And this is what I tell people. And if what you're thinking is, I'll do it and see if I can make it, you won't, because you'll be gone. You'll go, this is not worth the struggle. For me, it's worth it because I'm addicted to those laughs, and I got to be out there every week getting my laughs. And I love it, and that's all I care about. And I work for the audience. I don't work for the booker. I don't work for anybody but me and them. And that has stood me in good stead. I mean, there are some bookers who, they just want you to tell them they're fantastic and thank you and kiss their ass. And I'm like, well, you hire whoever you like. And when your audience complains, you deal with them. It's not my problem. I know what I do. I know what I bring to the table, and I'm proud of myself. That's all I can do. My ego's pretty healthy that way.
I really admire like comedians that do that, where they have they're not going to be rude or disrespectful, but they are unapologetically themselves, and they don't tolerate the bullshit, and they don't kiss ass. I really admire that, and that's something that I think I've done that a few times where I've kissed ass, but that's something that I'd like to be more alike. And that's one of the reasons why I like doing the podcast. There's a lot of incredible, interesting people in the stand-up world. And what would you say is your advice for becoming more? You're not going to be a cunt, but you're not going to be an ass kisser as well.
I have a simple rule. I don't expect respect. Nobody knows me. After I do my show, I always get the respect. I go to plenty of places where the management is just like, you do this, you do that, blah, 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 blah. Go back there. We'll tell you when you're on. And I'm like, yeah, great. And then I do the show, and afterwards they're like, hey, that was great. Come on over, have a drink, and I'm like, okay, thank you. But I know that they don't give a shit about me. They're responding to the fact that I just did great, and the audience is happy, and they're going to make money. So I don't expect respect, but I won't tolerate disrespect. So they want to be businesslike and fine. That's their personality. That's their job. That's what they want. I don't take that personally or get offended by that. But if you disrespect me, if you're rude to me openly, then I'm just like, okay, we're done. I don't have enough time for the people I do care about in this world. I'm not going to waste time on people I don't care about. I'm not going to argue with them, fight with them. I don't get into that. They don't exist anymore to me. I move on.
Did you ever have trouble with that when you first started, or have you always been like that?
God. Well, I think I've always had an element to that. I guess my ego's a little out of control in that sense. I believe in me. I know my value to me. And I also knew when I started that I was starting and I didn't know anything. And I kept my mouth shut and my eyes open and, was grateful for whatever spots I got. And, I think I was realistic about things. I never thought I was a star. I still don't. But But now at least I know my value. I mean, I guess I knew my value then, which was nothing. So I didn't say anything. But eventually you reach a point where you're like, well, no, I've earned this.
Yeah. And what was the moment you realized that you were like, yeah, when you realized that?
I don't think it's a moment. I think it's like when do you know you're a man?
Fair enough.
It's not one thing.
Now,
it's not Spartan times, we'll put you in the snow with the wolf, and when you kill the wolf, then you are a man. It's a process of growing up and finding yourself.
Yeah. And for any comic that is listening now about that side of things in terms of knowing your value, what advice would you give there? And how do people find out about you?
Again, I would say, I only just care about my act. I work on my act. I'm very bad at marketing. I don't post videos on whatever, TikTok or whatever it is. I'm a terrible businessman. So don't listen to me about business at all, because I'm very lucky that I get by, considering that all I care about is my jokes. But on the other hand, care about your jokes. It's important that when you do get the opportunities, you deliver. I see too many of these Instagram influencer type comics that go to the club and can't do 12 minutes. It's amazing. They get booked because they have 1 billion followers and they don't have an act when you actually go see them. It's ridiculous. So I would say get your act together. As far as finding out about me, 2 things. One is I have a website, myname.com. And 2 is I have an album that's streaming that people can listen to wherever they stream. It's called Surrounded by Idiots, and it's my comedy album. And I recommend listening to it because if people stream it and listen to it, I get paid. Actually, you know what? You don't even have to listen. Just stream it. I still get paid. You know what? Do that. Play it. Go out for a walk. Live your life. But just make sure you play it all the way through so I get some money.
All right. Please do that, okay, guys? Make sure you do that. If this was an Edinburgh show, Simon, when you said that statement there, they would have made all sorts of statements. You used the bucket speech to say, for £5 I can get a coffee, for £10 I could do this, and for £100 I could feed my children, or I could. They say, "Oh, I'll go home with you." Have you heard those bucket speeches?
I have not, but I can imagine.
Fair enough.
So is that what they do? Like after the show, they stand outside and beg?
Well, in the Edinburgh Fringe,
that's what I mean.
But no, they do it in a bunker.
But this is after their performance.
Yeah, they do those sort of lines. They say.
That's what I'm saying. So after the performance, the audience can tip you as they go out, and you've got a bucket, and they say things to try and get money out of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
But yeah, I've not heard many impressive lines, but they all fall under that sort of, as you said, derivative lines thing.
Yeah, well, whatever. I sell it. I sell a thing at my shows, the Simon Rakoff joke book, and it's my picture. It says the Simon Rakoff joke book, and then a little asterisk, jokes not included. So it's just an empty blank notebook, and I'll take whatever they give me for it. It's my little thing that I sell, which is really just a tip, but it's a chance for them to come up after if they want to give me some money and give me some, because you can't just ask for money at the end of a show at the club, but you can sell something, even if it's
yeah. Do you do it right before you do it obviously right at the end of your set and
near the end? I don't finish on it, but yeah.
there's
I
what's
basically do a little pitch for money near the end of my set. I do the joke about listening to my album and that whole thing about you don't have to listen. I'm not here to hold you hostage. Just download it or just stream it, live your lives, and I get paid. And then I say, and if all of you do it 150 times, I'll make $1.47 because rates. And then I sell the little joke book. I say, or if you want a souvenir, my little Simon Rakoff joke book, jokes not included. And then I just show the blank pages and they chuckle. That's it.
Okay.
All
Well,
cobbled together a living, right?
yeah. Now, for anyone listening in, guys, you know where to go to find out about Simon. You know what products to buy. You know about streaming. And
You've done more than admirable job of marketing me. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I charge £5, Simon.
I don't have any pounds. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You need to translate into different currencies. That way it'll work. Thank you for your time. That was a lot of fun.
No worries. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. And I'll see you guys soon.